Hello,
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Christmas.
La 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 la. Snow is falling. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm
I
going to
think,
sing
I
it.
think your tone was a little low, I think.
Yeah, I'm like usually soprano and also kind of a baritone there. Right. And I actually can't see, so even though I know that they're beautiful, I'm going to take them off. There we go. That's better. Okay, so we're recording this slightly late, aren't we? Because
Yeah.
we were supposed to do it last Sunday, but it's now the 6th in real time, 6th of December, and I'm already starting to feel a bit mental. How are you, Mandy?
Um, Virgin, well, we were going to talk about the extremes, weren't we? But yes, getting more and more grumpy.
Yeah,
Yes.
sort of verging on the hysterical this end.
Hmm.
So well, basically, this webinar is about festive balance. So obviously, we do our balance program, looking at the acronym to run through a whole series of kind of tools and almost like a holistic check-in to have a look at the whole of our world to make sure we are actually balanced and therefore avoiding triggers, avoiding overwhelm, and then which obviously causes the stinking thinking, which then can trigger us to drinking or other maladaptive behaviors. So I mean, that's the theory, and at this time of year kind of really probably need it more than most, I think, right? Which is why everyone, I know definitely for the first year it was like total rabbit in headlights, and just thinking, how on earth am I going to do it? And now it's like, well, I
Hmm.
know I'm not going to not be mental at some point, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's got anything to do with alcohol. Anyway, what about you?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's that. I guess it's that reactionary thing that I had, and I've noticed that quite recently about sort of high days in general, that I just close the door. I have closed the door to them completely, um, because they were so associated with drinking, that now it's like, right, I want to reclaim a bit of that kind of joy and fun about the season, because I'm not worried about drinking anymore. But I have to say that I find it challenging. Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to find joy, even if I have these on my head. I just, I think for me, it's family dynamics. Like, maybe it's my rebel tendency, maybe it's, I don't know, but I really struggle with things that are forced upon me, and so when I have to have family special time, it really stresses me out. And and having to see my parents-in-law, having to see my pet, that thing, and making sure and everyone having a nice time, it just I think it tucks or ties into something in childhood of that kind of happy clappy family, when there was, like, I never really felt it, and that falseness, I guess, is what I struggle with.
Mm.
um yeah, so I think for
So
me, it's
we'll
finding that authenticity in it and value.
Mm. And I think we can, yeah, we're going to sort of unpick that as we go through
Mm.
the balance program. And we're going to be looking at Christmas past,
Mm.
because I mean, this might be easier to do for some people once you've got that first Christmas under your belt.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll be able to reflect on it and go, it was so much better, but you haven't maybe got that perspective on it at the moment.
Mm.
So we're going to reflect a little bit on our Christmas past, and then how we are creating our Christmas present by making different choices, which will lead to much better Christmas
Christmas future.
futures. So yeah, exactly. And that's it. It's like that whole thing about, well, and also balancing the idea of doing our prep and making sure we're not depleted, trying to live in the moment whilst also prepping for, like you say, like a high day, which can throw up all kinds of, all manner of kind of shit, basically. Even if it's got glitter and sparkle on it, it still can be throw up the shit.
All a spade. Yeah.
Shoulda. Okay. So, the idea then, we were saying that you hate it, I love it. So you need to, how do you bring yourself into the centre by adding in a bit of sparkle? And how do I stop the overwhelm and the disappointment if it doesn't live up to expectations? So I think that kind of bringing it into the centre. Yeah. So we were kind of looking at that, weren't we?
Yeah.
So should we go through? We start off, so for the body. So in the past, we were depleted, hungover, overcommitted.
Yes.
Oh my God, the kind of horrors that have happened in the wee small hours of those Christmas mornings.
Yeah.
And it was much worse when I had children.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's that recognition of again, this is in the reflection, but when you haven't experienced that, it's quite hard to imagine, because it's just, you're used to kind of being in that depleted, hungover, like just sort of laughing your way through how like awful you feel when the kids are up early and like, it's all a bit, feels a bit wrong.
It's that gallows sort of humour, isn't it?
Yeah. But like when you actually have had a sober Christmas morning, and you can feel that kind of complete difference in release of anxiety, and just everything's sorted out, and you've organized everything. You're not like dashing down to put presents or find the presents, or you can't remember because you blacked out, and all manner of hideousness. And the thing you said about being overcommitted, I think, is really important, because massive part of this is building boundaries, and I was talking to a friend about this yesterday, and I think when you get sober, or if you're on a sober journey, you start to think a lot about what you really want and what you really need and what you really like, because you're questioning a massive part of how you've lived your life. And so you can start asking questions that you never asked before, like, do I really want to go? Where do I want to spend my time? And I've had a few instances where I've gone and done something because I thought I should, and had that reflection to go, I'm not going to do that again, and so now if I go to a party, it's because I really want to go. And there's very much that kind of gut feeling of like, if I'm hesitating about it, it's probably because I don't want to go, and I can say, sorry, I can't come. And
totally. Well, interestingly, going back to the body and boundaries. I mean, this happened to me this week, because already we're in that first week, and I was supposed to go up to London yesterday, wasn't I? And we were talking about as well in the podcast about being knackered this time of year, and that kind of hibernatory, that kind of instinctively we want to sleep a bit more, we want comforting foods, we want to be indoors a bit more. It's good to get out and get that fresh, get the light, but then there is that kind of need to rest more and observe that, just as this point where we're like ramping right up. And I was aware that I was doing that, and I was supposed to go up to London for a meeting, and I just kept saying to you, didn't I, and you flagged up to me, you said a couple of times, it wasn't this kind of meeting that it was only for an hour, and I could do it by Skype or Zoom. And interestingly, so I did call it off right at the last minute, but I woke up yesterday and my back had gone and had to go to the osteopath early as an emergency, so interestingly, I wouldn't have been able to go anywhere and I got there before, because obviously we're more kind of self-aware, and you flagged it up to me and were like, no, you've got the permission not to go. But interestingly, my body would have stopped me, and it is much better today, because I guess that's the other thing, is I could go to the osteopath. I didn't force myself to go up to London and think, no, I've got to do it, it's really important, and then make it worse. So, I think there's a bit of a thing about that.
in the learning process of boundaries, I think what a really good tool is to use the group, which, you know, women are starting to do, and I really encourage women to continue to do that, because when you ask the question and you can have it reflected back to you, it's like, you know, I've got to do this, no, and someone can sort of, you know, be that angel on your shoulder and go, you don't have to go, like, listen to yourself, really. And that gives you that time to kind of reflect and go, oh yeah, okay. And you get more skillful as it, you know, as you go along, and you can pick it up yourself. But yeah, I really encourage people just to throw that out there, like, I'm supposed to be doing this, and like, let's talk about it, and let's see what other options, you know, as you say, perhaps you can do it remotely, perhaps you can, you know, organize, change the time so it's a daytime event, not an evening event. You know, if we can work together to find a solution that is not going to exhaust you and lead you to a position where you're vulnerable to drinking. So what other things can people do for their body to sort of support them, bring balance?
I think, so to, you know, even though it's in our cultural messages that it's okay to binge, sort of avoid that sugar yo-yo, I'd say. Stay hydrated. Like, I've noticed I'm very dehydrated. I think because the central heating's gone on now, so lots and lots of water. I think also I feel quite strongly about this, because there are those cultural messages to sort of feast as well, to have some self-compassion around that. Because I remember, you know, in my 20s, I did have some disordered eating, and I would have a lot of anxiety around this time of year, because I knew that I was going to binge and then I would go and throw up, you know. So I didn't do it very often, but definitely around Christmas, that would trigger a sort of a bulimia thing for me. And to just be aware of that and have that self-compassion and have that, like, look, it's only a day. If you've you know, you don't have to go bonkers. But also, you know, I think building in that reflective thing and getting out for walks and just filling up your senses and doing all of this kind of balance can really help with that. I don't know, that's all I can say.
I think with that, again, I've, you know, was talking to a friend about this, and, you know, her binge eating is very much about filling a hole. You know, it's the same as alcohol. Like, it's you know, it's filling something that she feels is missing, or trying to recapture something from a moment of happiness, you know. And so she's got into a maladaptive behavior of reaching for that thing. And again, you know, with you know, maladaptive drinking, it's that cycle of self-harm, in the sense that you are doing something and then you know that it's going to cause you pain afterwards, and then you do it, and it's that you know. And so the opposite of that is self-compassion, is kindness, self-care, and just being able to sort of, you know, really look after yourself and touch into that sort of self-worth, I suppose. And, you know, when talking about it, and if you do talk about it, you can identify, like, okay, what is it that I need and what is it I'm missing, you know. And we're going to talk about this. For her, it's grief. You know, it's associated to her dad, and that's the sort of food that they used to eat together, and he's not here anymore. You know, so there's always a reason why you're doing something that's harmful. Yeah, so always treat yourself with care, I suppose, on those things. And I think that's right.
And I think that just to follow on, like, the way I manage that, again, is that kind of trying to keep balance, so you don't go into fight flight, you don't go into back brain, and then just if you can try and build in reflective time and work out how you're feeling and what you actually need, you know, that RAIN, recognise, allow, investigate, nurture. Again, that can, because I think for us HSPs and introverts and people and moms who take on too much, it's like you can easily flip out, and that's when all the kind of triggers happen, and those panic feelings and often those maladaptive things kick off. So I think just that Yeah, just that if you can have that we were talking, weren't we, about intentions in the morning and just a bit of reflection at night, just
Mm.
jot down, like take a couple of minutes. How might just little check-ins with yourself. I
Yeah.
find that very useful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else on body? So, I know what I was going to say. So, look, so we were talking about binging with stuff in trigger shame. So, I think you need to know as well how you best operate, whether you act intuitively or whether you're better with structure. Do you
Mm.
know what I mean? So have a think about that. Have a think about what works for you with all of that. That's the last thing I would say.
Mm.
And stay warm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
So on to A. Sorry, go on.
no, I was going to say rest. You know, for body again.
Rest.
Yeah, I mean that's always the key for everything, and it's like even if it is just taking, because what tends to happen, or what would lead you down the path to drinking or any maladaptive behavior, is not having time to pause and think. It's like when it's like when we talk about back brain, it's like literally everything going like "Wah!" like like oh, it's too much, that's overwhelm, isn't it? Like Wah! And so you just do whatever you've always known what to do in order to change your state. So if that rest and taking time out, if it for me, I mean, when we first met and after the first Christmas where we connected, I was at my brother's house. It was very, very stressful. I had like my foot in plaster cast.
I remember that.
And I was on lots of painkillers, like heavy painkillers and drugs, and there was lots of drinking, lots of kids, and I just sort of kept on going to the loo, just sit on the toilet and just just like, right, okay, give myself that minute to then sort of go out again and face it. So what about this is a nice
okay, well, this is a nice one, isn't it? So if we say about wonder being the twinkly little sister of awe, fairy lights, nature walks, Kew Gardens. It's actually, we're going tonight to the Glow Wild, which you flagged up to me. I thought it was in Kew, but it's in Wakehurst Place, which is near me. So we're going at 7:30 and going to wander around the woods looking at all the lights. I mean, that just ticks all the boxes for me in so many ways. So I get a bit of nature, but I get all the sparkle. I mean, Regent Street, I know it's a bit overwhelming, but those lights are amazing. I guess some people might be going skiing and stuff. I know some friends of mine go skiing this time of year, and just thought being on a mountain with loads of snow and bright sunshine is that is amazing, right? So, like we were talking about as well, if you don't fancy going out, watching that One Strange Rock called Blue Planet, I think that makes you feel awe. I really do, because what we were like, that's amazing. Look at those deep sea things that have lights coming out of their heads and things like that. It's like, what? So, I think that's quite. Look, you look a bit like that now, man. You look like one of those. What are they called? It was in Finding Nemo, wasn't it?
Yeah. I feel like I'm chasing them all the time.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, and I think, because I mean, I'm not, like, we've talked about this a lot about kind of spirituality and religion and things like that, and sort of sacred spaces, and I definitely am not like this is a big question in my life about these topics, because I kind of grew up in a very socialist family that religion, the only thing I learned about religion was that it was evil, essentially. And so, but I absolutely love going to churches, and listening to I used to sing in the carols concert like every year, just because I liked that experience. So I think those places definitely kind of, or galleries, or anywhere where you can get that sense of kind of grandeur, the theatre.
Going, you were saying you went to see the Nutcracker, didn't you, one year? And I mean, we went to see, was it last year? I think it was the year before. We went to the Rose Theatre in Kingston. I think it's the Rose. and it was the youth theatre, and they did Beatrix Potter, and all the kids were sitting down, and it was beautiful. Like, it was so Christmassy and so amazing. So that was really lovely. And also, yeah, we go and do the Christingle things. Like, I do the church thing at Christmas, but only on Christmas Eve for the carols and the Christingle. But and again, it's that collective experience and sort of ritual that I find quite comforting. So yeah. What else? I don't know, but I mean, it's just whatever lights you up, isn't it, and makes you feel part of something like greater. And I don't know. Yeah, I know one thing. I don't know if there's this old film as well called Baraka. Have you ever heard of that? That's amazing. It's probably on Netflix somewhere, and it was made by the Coen brothers. And it's like National Geographic, and it just goes through loads of time lapse things. I remember them shooting over what's that South American temple, the Mayan temple, Machu Picchu, and they did time lapse, and it was watching the constellations and the stars going in like really fast over that, and that's like amazing as well. So I don't know, whatever floats your boat. Really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know my dad would say a football match. You know, is that's what makes his it's that thing that makes your like hair stand on end, where you get that feeling of like,
Salvation Army band in the station. That just, it moves me and it makes me feel part of something greater, and for me that's all, you know.
They actually looked after my granddad when my granddad was homeless after he was a miner, so got a lot of time for the Salvation Army,
the Sally Army. There's something so poignant, isn't there, about the sound of like the brass band. There is something sort of deeply cultural. Okay.
Love.
What about L is for love, isn't it? Okay, so I've put in the past we did not have good boundaries. It led to overwhelm and drinking, which we've touched on really. Family, that thing about doing too much, expecting too much, wanting too much, wanting to escape too much, like it's just all over the shop. So I've put a note about self-love. Always, you know, this time of year, identify the trigger about meeting your needs and filling your own cup up so that you can give. So there's something about that. And the other thing is about healing our wounds, about high days being like, I know every year now we'll be thinking about Anne, my sister-in-law, and so there's a nod to that. I think Michael Maisie did a post. I know you wanted to talk about this morning, and he said that in his past, like, he had such a shocking upbringing that even though he's got two lovely girls and a beautiful wife, and he's got, you know, he's managed to rewrite the script, you know what I mean, and he's hugely grateful, it triggers his backstory, and it's incredibly painful for him. So it's always that light and dark for him. So I think there's that thing of like, oh, okay, it might be a rich day, you know, and that night, that isn't just always happy and easy. It's light and dark. For some it's really fucking dark, you know what I mean? Maybe we should talk about that. I don't know.
I mean, I think that, you know, well, there's lots of things there, and we are going to do a whole webinar next year about family issues, because it's a huge topic and it's very triggering. But, you know, I think there is sort of identifying, you know, that we all have a family of origin that we didn't choose, and that we have a family of choice, which is what we build in our adult lives. And you know, work around forgiveness, forgiveness is not forgiving what was done, but it's moving to a point where it no longer causes you pain. But, you know, obviously that's very deep work, which, you know, I suggest therapy to work through that if that's something that's coming up for people. I think it's okay to not love it too. You know, and I think
100%.
there is something in me that is about not wanting to, like, not having high expectations. Like, I tend to lower expectations so I don't get disappointed, and I don't really know where that started or why. And I absolutely loved Christmas as a kid, so I can't pinpoint where that shifted really. But yeah, I think that, you know, we will put some resources on this up. And I think it is that kind of acknowledging your own feelings about it, and it's okay to sort of not love it, you know, and for that to be respected, and keep it quiet, and keep it, you know, I mean, that's what I try to do, is if I can possibly, I will just be with my husband and my kids, and that's it, because I just don't want to have to fake it. And that's what it feels like to me, you know, when we're in it's faking it, and I just have to grin and bear it, because I can't really explain why, you know, but I just don't. I guess it's that pressure. There's something about pressure, I think. I don't know if anyone relates to that, but there's something.
There is huge pressure.
It's supposed to be a really nice time, and I think perhaps because I was a kid that felt different, and often felt like the black sheep of the family, and often felt like, looking back now, feels like to me that I was depressed even as a very small child, like that kind of distance, and them and me, you know, and I always felt very on my own. So yeah, I guess it is that remnants of that. So and I think, you know, connection with other people that understand, you know, that we will be here checking in, you know, at points over the Christmas period. You know, perhaps having an ally or a friend that understands, that you can connect to. Luckily, my husband understands, so I can sort of speak to him quietly in the kitchen and just be like, you know, just going to, does anyone need anything from the shop? That's basically what I do that time.
Are you sure I can drive to the garage again for the 50th time?
Something that I've found very interesting, which I was looking into, is if you identify what the triggers are, you know, like, say for me, there is the stress, there is booze being around all the time, there is the pressure, like there is anger, you know, about certain family relationships, or having to deal with people that are racist, you know, or like whatever you have to do, or the overwhelm. It's like, once you can identify that, you can actually identify the opposite feeling. So, you know, I wrote down, for example, you know, if you feel stressed, what you need is to feel supported. Like, if it's booze, then what you need is sobriety. Like, if it's pressure, then what you need is balance. If it's anger, then you need calm. Overwhelm, then to feel in control. And so then you look at how you're going to answer those needs. So it's like, right, okay, so I need support, so I'm going to delegate. I'm going to talk to people about people doing more, being, you know, like, I need to feel more in control, so I need to take things off the list so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. You know, it feels like a lot of pressure. Okay, so I need balance. Like, I'm going to make sure I do a daily meditation, or make sure I have a bath, or take myself out of the situation. So I think
and lower those expectations, like you say, as well. Like, I mean, you know, I'd be like, oh, hands up if you tried to make it perfect for everyone and then lost the plot. It's like, yeah, and then felt really guilty. Yeah, I mean, I think it's almost like being the one-eyed man in the Valley of the Blind. I think sometimes being sober at Christmas, you know what I mean? That whole thing, it's like, oh my freaking God, you know, how is this, what even is this, you know what I mean? Like, what? And I always, it's interesting, isn't it, because I always love the run up to Christmas. I'm really not that fussed about Christmas Day, you know. I like the morning with the kids and stuff. Now I like the nice dinner, now that my eating disorder is fine. And yeah, And then I very quickly had enough of everyone, like really, really, like as soon as dinner's over, everyone really could kind of like, and I would be much happier, or like, you know, like, should we just leave it there? That would be quite nice.
So what do you do to manage that then?
Go to the loo a lot. And well, this year, this is lovely. This will come on to, I was going to talk about this in C, which was connection and community. But so the yoga studio they moved premises, and they are next to a Baptist church. And it's really funny because everyone on Sunday morning, it's really busy, this like little alleyway between the two buildings. Like there's people going left towards the church, people going right to the yoga studio. And they have they've been chatting, which is really lovely because they're really opposite ideologies, let's face it. And they've decided that they're all going to open their doors on Christmas Day and provide food and somewhere to drop in for people and a community. And they said, you know, we're just going to make this little corner of Haywards Heath just somewhere where people can go. So I've offered our services, so Ella and I will probably go. That's my daughter. And yeah, so we might be giving lifts to people, or to get them there, or we'll be doing something to help in the morning.
Very nice. I saw that there's a pub opening up, ironically, but there's a pub
excellent
up in London to people to give them lunch to people that don't have anywhere else to go.
It's really good. That's what it's all about for me, is those that connection, really. And that is really, I think that's would lead on to the next one. No, what is alignment? Yeah, which segue nicely into that, actually, because about identifying your core values, which is always really, I think, so useful, because I didn't know before I started coaching and doing my coach training that our values really do inform our behaviour. They're motivators. They motivate us without us even realising. And when we feel at odds, when we feel conflicted, sometimes we're like, why is that? And often there'll be just some kind of dissonance between a core value, something that's not feeling right, but maybe you're overthinking it and making excuses for it, or just have forgotten it, you know, just let it go. And actually, so I think, you know, if I'm to identify my core values at Christmas, it would be sparkle, because I love to celebrate and to create beauty. I think for me, as I like to create spaces of beauty. So it's an aesthetic time for people to be in, though. I wouldn't want to just be in there myself, so it's about creating space for people. And the other thing, which is interesting because I'm an introvert, so I would like to create that lovely space for people and then go, all right, I'll see you all later then.
Bye,
I'm just off to the loo. But and the other thing is that wider sense of sort of community and generosity and kindness. I think I just I want everyone to get along and be nice to each other, essentially. And that's the sort of a message in the season. So I'm like, yay, we can all live like I want to live. You know? Do you know what I mean? I don't think about the consumerism because we don't buy a lot. We just don't. We set a limit of a tenner for the adults. We do a lot of thrift shopping. And we don't go mad, but it is about getting together, and I like that.
What
about you?
Well, this is probably why I struggle with it, is because it goes against those so much of my values, and I think I get very easily overwhelmed with the people that aren't, you know, enjoying Christmas, and that kind of overwhelms me. So I guess there's some, in terms of me getting balance back, you know, is doing gratitude work, and you know, like I can't save the world every day, and me feeling shit in my house about it isn't gonna do anything. So like, do you feel guilty then that you're having a nice time and other people aren't? Okay. Because it's quite emotional. I feel like I'm move on.
Sorry.
No, but I mean, I think I don't think I'm the one, so I'm happy to talk about it for sure.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I mean, I know that when I think we've talked about it before, like when I was growing up, I felt crippled by guilt and not deserving anything. And I thought that I shouldn't do anything I wanted because why I didn't have the right to do anything. And it was so crushing. And I think that if you are like that, and if you, like say, you're very sensitive and have that kind of social awareness around that, I think that some of that you can do with like sphere of influence work. So it's like, well, how can I be the change? How can I impact without making myself utterly miserable and feeling crushed by it, you know? And that's that you know, the middle circle is what I can do, then what I have some control over, and then what I have no control over, and then pick something and then like go, okay, well, I actually have done something, so I can park that. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we'll put in an exercise about values and about the sphere of influence for people like that. They can work on it at their own pace.
Because it's a lovely thing, it's a beautiful thing, and a part of that is the feeling of like, oh, but then I'm either going to be overwhelmed by that, or I have to squash it and just join in. But it's like, well, okay, you can honour that, but without being overwhelmed by it, you know. And I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so aligning with the values. There you go.
What about
nourishment? Okay, so this goes back to that little thing that I shared in the group and on the newsletter, with the lovely picture of the girl in underneath the ground in a burrow, and she had a bear and she was doing some knitting, and it's all like, and that just, if I'm gonna, I think I will always remember that image now, and that sums up what I feel like your winter nourishment. So rather than being distracted by the bright lights and swept up in the consumerism and the sheer pace of it all, is to recognise and respect the wisdom of the season, which is very introvert, and to draw in. And that whole rest, come off social media if it's triggering, you can batten down the hatches. I think what you said though about identifying the opposite thing, because you can feel quite lonely. So if you feel lonely doing that, is to reach out for connection. I think that exercise that you were talking about. So for me, it's very overwhelming. So for me, it's very much like I just want to go inward.
Yeah.
But for some people, it's the opposite, isn't it? So again, it's just identifying the need and sort of calling bullshit a bit. There's a lot of shoulds around this time of year, so it's just like, don't should all over yourself. It's just like, you are allowed to identify a feeling and have it validated, and then do something that you need to make yourself feel better about it. Whatever it is, doesn't matter that it's Christmas, doesn't matter if it's Queen's birthday or Mardi Gras, whatever. It's like, you know,
if you're not up for it, you're not up for it.
If you're not up for it, you're not up for it.
And exactly. I think something that I wanted to highlight, which I found very interesting, is the kind of acronym of FEAR, which is Jack Canfield's work, which is fantasized experiences appearing real. You know, for him, this is not necessarily true, because there are obviously real, true fears out there, but quite often we build up a picture in our head, perhaps because it's happened before, because we think it's going to happen. And so we do, like, for example, saying to your mother-in-law, I can't come to Christmas lunch. You know, we will build up this huge...
Right, I'm off. I'll see you later. That's terrifying to
build
me.
up this huge story about it.
Yeah.
You know, that the whole of the family dynamic is going to be forever broken because of this one act. And actually, you know, if you start asking yourself, like, what is the worst that can happen?
Shall I tell you what the worst is? No, I can't. No, go on. You carry on.
What is the worst that can happen here? And then it's thinking, okay, like, is that fact, you know, or is that just a story I'm telling myself? And if the worst happened, am I strong enough to cope with it? and quite often or not you are, you know, because it's aligned with your values, or it's something that, you know, your boundary is there. So it's like, okay, well, I can do this thing because I know I can handle it. And quite often what will happen is you know, it wouldn't be that bad at all. I mean, for me, for years and years and years, the idea of me putting in a boundary and saying I can't go somewhere, the fear that I had created, the fantasized experience appearing real that I had created, that I would be lonely and I would have no friends and no one would ever invite me to anything ever again because I said no, was completely untrue. And now it's like, I just go, and I don't even have to explain myself. I just go, sorry, I can't come. And I'm not a social leper. I still have friends. So
yeah, it's that challenging that the it's a CBT tool, isn't it? That's to challenge catastrophizing thoughts, and that was a big one for me as well.
Yeah,
huge one for people who suffer with anxiety and you know,
and again
those things.
This whole related to, you know, you saying that you don't drink, you say you don't drink anymore, you know, or like you stopping drinking at Christmas, you know, we create this huge created fear about it, that like we won't cope and that it's not possible and we'll never be able to get through it. And actually, if you ask yourself, is that fact? It's like, no, that's not a fact, because you've never done it before. And if you give it a go, and if you believe in yourself, you absolutely can do it.
It's just one day as well. You know, like literally you could get a kind of thing on somewhere on your phone and just tick off the hours. You know, if it's like that, it's not that bad actually. When you're doing it, it's like any other day. And then if you feel like you're going to freak out, you just need to go for a walk or something. The one thing you've just reminded me, one year it was on a New Year, and it was before I'd given up drinking, and we were hosting and I had friends, and I just thought, I really don't want to drink because I knew that I'd feel hungover on New Year's Day, and you know, I was in that kind of trying to moderate sort of phase. And so I didn't drink, but I didn't tell anyone. I just, me and my friend had Bucks Fizz, but I had alcohol-free Bucks Fizz and just kept it quiet. I didn't, and she didn't realise. No one realised. So
I've got a few friends that do that are sort of more, you know, sober curious, trying to work it out, or like, and they just drink tonic and just don't tell anyone.
Yeah. That's it. So you can not make a big deal of it, or you can make a really big deal of it, like I do now. What? No, didn't you know I don't drink? Yeah, no, I don't.
No, I don't. Yeah.
Should we have a chat about it? Oh, go on, I'll bend your ear for 5 hours. Come on then. Okay, that's why I know that's a good way of getting rid of everyone for Christmas.
Yeah. What about connection?
Okay, so we were looking at under connection and over connection and true connection. So maybe in the past may have been over connection, overwhelm, exhaustion and FOMO, and now we come off social media, opt out and say no. Oh, that was really loud. Under connection, I'm getting silly now. It's a strong no. It was a hell no. And under connection, maybe isolation, sadness, drinking, drowning, sorrows, and now would be reaching out, local stuff. One of our friends feels this very strongly at this time of year, and she volunteered for Crisis to Christmases and goes away to yoga retreats as well. She hasn't got kids and stuff, so I think that's a masterstroke from her. So you know, that kind of, and being aware that high days can make you feel, like we were saying before, can highlight loss. So they can just be a handful, right? They can amplify everything, can't they? So whatever's going on, it amplifies it. It's like it does it to the power of 10. It's like if someone waves a wand and then you wake up on Boxing Day and the mad fairy has gone, and you're like, oh, okay, but there was a mad fairy for a bit.
Yeah, I think that there's that tendency that we have, and again, it's something we're going to talk about more in webinars, is kind of emotional intelligence. And it's like, we don't we're not skilled at dealing with different extreme emotions. You know, that's what should be taught at school. You know, since getting sober,
Totally.
one of the brilliant tools is that now that I have some kind of understanding of emotional intelligence, I can talk to my kids about it, and it's becoming that reciprocal thing, whereas now they're coming back to me and going, well, you know, this behavior, mummy, mostly about my phone. But what we do and what we've been taught is to shut up about it. Shut up, deal with it, don't talk about it, you know. And one of the ways that we do that is by drinking alcohol or escaping into other maladaptive behavior, shopping, sex, whatever, relationships, you know. And so it's like, what I love, we've been talking about, and we talked about a little bit in the group, was this kind of bringing back rituals to actually honor our feelings. And actually, you know, with grief or with sadness, it is that thing of like, right, how could I actually take a moment to actually respect my own feelings about this, you know. And I know you like candles.
Always. And when we go to a church, like so off on Christmas Eve, look at the church, look at all the beautiful lights, and always go usually to the mother, you know, to Mary thing, whatever it's called, Mother Mary, the Virgin Mary, there you go, got there. And light candles by her. And that honours our dead, you know, for me.
Yeah. So I think there's that kind of moment. It's like, you know, why not? I mean, I kind of had this the other day with you know, my friend that died. Just like, well, I actually sort of forced myself to cry. Like I listened to sort of sad music, and I put myself into a very sort of memory filled space, and, you know, just had a really good cry, you know, and then had a bath, you know, and put moisturizer on, and kind of like put clean clothes on, and just sort of gave myself, I don't know, that healing, I suppose. And so, yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's okay, you know, it's okay to kind of just give yourself that time to, and I like the idea of rituals. Like, what could you go, like have a special walk, or have a special place that you could go and just check in, you know, and just sort of.
I think it's really important, you know, that's one of my favourite subjects really, is how ritual speaks to the human experience, how it supports us through rites of passage, or like say like high days. I think we should do a webinar on that, because it's a big old topic, but it's lovely to explore, because it's really creative. And I think, you know, even if you think, like, you know, you were saying you're not religious and stuff, but you like the arts and theatre, and actually the origins of theatre and ritual are very, very entwined. You know, there were mummers' plays, which were about respecting, they were like moral instruction and spiritual teachings and all the rest of it, you know, how to just communicate norms and values. So I think there's something definitely there to support us a bit more. Definitely. Yeah. So okay.
Enjoyment. Bar humbug over here.
Okay, so enjoyment. In the past, maybe we ran with the herd, got completely over the top, then we had regrets, Christmas party transgressions, EastEnders type Christmases where we lost control because it was a high day. Should I do my oversharing now?
Go on.
Okay, no, I can't. Sorry. Okay. I'm being so annoying, aren't I, about that?
Well, I mean,
no, I just can't.
Yeah,
but I mean, that kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
No, I mean, I will say that, like, yeah, I certainly have had some of my most embarrassing experiences, you know, at Christmas parties, works parties. You know, I told my senior manager how much I hated him, you know, when I was drunk at a Christmas party. I text my boss about being in his house. It's not funny. Whilst I was at his house, because I was trying to text a friend to say, like, no way, I'm at the boss's house. Like, it's really like naff or something. And I sent it to my boss.
Nice.
And in my drunken thinking, I thought I should probably text him again to tell him that I was sorry, that I can't remember. I made this whole thing about how I was gonna like sort it out, and just made it 10 times worse, and kind of woke up the next day just like, oh my god, like, A, do I have a job? B, how do I go back to work?
And having the fear and the
and I think there is something about those, again, it's that sort of social anxiety when you're in those environments of fun, and then you kind of just, what do you do? Like, okay, you have a drink to like kind of ease the pain, and then it all goes terribly, terribly wrong. And so now I have two options. Either I don't go if I know that it's going to be a place that I'm not going to enjoy, and I'm going to feel like shit, and I'm going to sit there going, God, why am I wasting my time being here? Or I'm going to go and I'm going to be fine, because I will be in my comfort zone, and I'll be with people that I care about, and I will feel safe. Because essentially it's when you push yourself into places you don't feel safe, you make bad choices. Sure. You're in back brain kind of fear.
Yeah. So. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well,
we've got a party bingo, haven't we, that we're going to put up?
Yeah, that's true. We have. So, and now, so the being present, the sort of enjoyment, Christmas party stuff, party bingo, and the joy of missing out, that JOMO is like really entered. I don't know if it is in the dictionary yet, but it won't be long, I don't think, till it is. And that whole, I don't know, snuggling in, big socks, Christmas films, or, like some people, like you were saying, like sometimes you just avoid it altogether, don't you? And you go away. So you went to Barcelona last year,
we leave on the, it's very annoying.
Are you going this year?
Hashtag don't get me started. But we're leaving on the 26th, and we're going to San Sebastian
nice.
for a few days. But unfortunately we've ended up having loads of people here, which I'm really cross about. But there we go. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try not to take it too seriously. That's what
that's a good idea.
And I am going to focus on the kids, and I'm going to focus on making nice food, but not getting over the top either, buying lots of stuff. I'm going to do a big sort of alcohol-free drinks shop. So I've got lots of yummy options as well.
And I suppose it's that thing, isn't it, that we go back to, of it just being one day.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And it's like just and just enjoying it, but we don't have to go bonkers. And it's about almost like minimizing alcohol's role in it.
Yeah.
Because A, it doesn't have to be the best time ever. B, it's just one day. C, it's not going to add to it particularly. Well, it won't. It will make it a lot worse. It won't enhance anything. It will make everything a lot worse. And if you haven't worked out those triggers and those strategies yet, it is only one day, and then you're just back in normal life, and it just will be like, do you know what I mean? So it is about having a bloody word about, we don't have to get kind of swept up in the madness of it all, I think. And
I think it's very important to, I keep saying this, but to keep connected, and it's like we'll be here, and I guess it's that, like, if we're talking about the present and then the future, it's like we often do that. It's that kind of reporting back. So it's like, okay, like I'm going in, I'm prepped, I'm planned, I'm going into this party, I can't avoid it, I kind of want to go, I kind of want to prove a point, I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna tell the girls about it tomorrow. And it's like that thing of like that hook into tomorrow is really handy. It's like, we'll be waiting to hear how it went. You know, you've got invested interest to get through that night and not drink. And those sort of connections really help to just sort of push you through. And then all of a sudden it'll be January and everyone will be doing dry January, and we'll be
yeah. What was it? The brilliant quote, like, if that got me through my first year, someone said, actually it was my sister-in-law, and she said, there's a Chinese saying that if you sit by the river long enough, the bodies of your enemies will float by. And I was like, that's it right there, because dry January is coming, and I'm just going to hold tight, and before long all those buggers are going to go. And they did in their hordes. So yeah, absolutely. And we've got an event, haven't we, if you're listening in kind of around this, pretty much live and around this time, and an afternoon tea
in January,
end of January. So we'll post that. After the club soda thing. So we'll post that as well. So if that helps as well, get in touch and plan that in, because we can all meet up in January. And again, that got me through my first year when I was on Soberistas, is that I had a meet up in January, and I thought, I can't turn up and having drunk. So you know, it's like whatever works. Choose whatever works. Yeah.
Okay, we should probably finish now. So happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas. You can do it.